Hey everyone, my name is Brian, and I'm coming at you live here from Southwest Oklahoma. So many of you know me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm from Oklahoma. I grew up in eastern Colorado in Burlington, and I'm doing this video today. I'm teaming up with John and Jenny Reaverts of In Christ Ministries there in eastern Colorado. And so like I said, I grew up in eastern Colorado. I actually was involved in Mr. Reavert's ministry whenever I was in high school, and we've kept in touch over the years. And he and I got to talking on the phone the other day and kind of discussing our current realities here with the coronavirus and, our current reality and what we're all facing. And so, anyways, as you guys see, I'm outside, so you might hear some dogs bark. You might hear some wind chimes and what have you, but it's a beautiful day out. I actually live in Dallas, Texas, but I'm here in Oklahoma staying with family, kind of waiting this out like a lot of people are. And so we're doing this short video. I want to give you a little bit of history about who I am here in a little bit, about my story and my testimony. And, I hope that I'm able to share some positive views of how to view our current reality, and not just that, but how to put our faith and our trust back in God during these trying times. Because like many of you, I had plans. I was working. I had all this stuff going on, and a lot of people had the exact same thing. And this virus has just kind of thrown us all in a whirlwind. And so, anyways, to get started, I just want to say, again, my name is Brian. I'm teaming up with John and Jenny there at In Christ Ministries, and hopefully this will be a positive video, and hopefully you can share it with some friends and some family, and give them some hope with all of this, because I think you're going to see that God is really in our corner at the end of the day, and He's rooting for us just as much as we're depending on Him. And so to give you a little history about who I am and my story, I'm a 31-year-old with cystic fibrosis and diabetes. Now, most of you know what diabetes is, where you have to control your blood sugars, and you have to watch what you eat and kind of stay away from all the sugars and all the carbohydrates, and you have to take insulin. But many of you may not know what cystic fibrosis is. Cystic fibrosis is a genetic condition that I was born with that affects my lungs. So it's a pulmonary condition where my lungs make more mucus than a normal person. And so essentially, that makes it easier for me to get things like bronchitis, things like pneumonia, and it also affects other parts of my body, such as my digestive system and my pancreas, which is why I have diabetes. So my diabetes is actually a byproduct of the cystic fibrosis. And so, thankfully, despite those serious conditions, God has blessed me with great health. So I'm very grateful. I've been able to do a lot of things in my 31 years that a lot of, others with cystic fibrosis and diabetes can't do. And so I've been able to travel, I've been able to play sports, I've been able to run a successful business, and very grateful for that. But the story that I'm going to share with you today is one that is leading up to all this virus. So we're going to do this in 3 chapters. So this video is going to be about 10 minutes long, and then we'll do the other chapters, and it'll all tie in together. So I hope you guys will join in with us on this journey and this story, and I hope that it'll brighten your day. I know there's only so much Facebook, there's only so much Netflix and social media that you can take, and if you turn on the news, you're just going to see negative stuff. So I'm hoping this is going to be a positive experience for all of us, and hopefully you can share it, and hopefully this will help shift your perspective or reprioritize it and kind of give you some hope and some positive things to look forward to. So with all that, now you know a little bit about who I am, what I do. So here's what I want to share with you today. So like I was saying, I have cystic fibrosis and diabetes. And while those are very serious conditions, they're life-threatening conditions if you don't take care of yourself, I've been blessed with, the ability to live a pretty normal life as long as I take my medication. And as long as I stick to my routine, I eat right, I take my medicine on time, I can live pretty much a normal life. And so I am an insurance agent, and I help a lot of people with their health insurance, life insurance, etc. But what I like to do for fun in my spare time, whenever I get the opportunity, is I like to play golf. I like to lift weights. I like to travel. And that's what I want to talk to you today about. So one of my things that I've always kind of really enjoyed is trekking around the globe. Very, very blessed in that I've been able to travel around the world, and I've been able to trek around Europe with a bunch of friends, been able to trek around South America, did the whole Machu Picchu, was able to trek around the Amazon. And about 2 years ago, I had always had this lifelong dream of climbing in the Himalayas. And I'd always followed, prominent climbers such as Conrad Anker, Jimmy Chin, and so on. And I've met several people who've climbed Mount Everest. Now, just to be clear, I wasn't planning on climbing Mount Everest. That takes years of preparation. And so, honestly, I don't like the idea of being in negative 30-degree weather for 3 weeks at a time. Don't get me wrong, it's a phenomenal accomplishment, but my goal was always to just go to the Himalayas. It kind of drew me in, kind of not just spiritually, but just the beauty of it. If you're a climber, that's really the pinnacle of climbing. So you don't just have Mount Everest, but you have several of the world's tallest peaks there in the Himalayas. So anyways, a few years ago, I started planning this trip that I would fly to India, spend time in India, and then I would trek up to the Himalayas and climb there. And so with that being said, as I've told you a little bit ago, I've got these health conditions. And what do you guys know about mountain climbing? You have to be in top physical shape. And so if you're a normal person without any health conditions, it's already difficult. So for me, I had to really work my butt off in preparation, and that's everything from lifting weights and running to being in shape to getting all the logistics down for my medications I have to take for my conditions. So not just for my lungs, but for my diabetes with my insulin and so on. And so a few years ago, I started doing all the planning, all the logistics, and all the training. And so with that being said, got everything planned down and was actually supposed to take this trip in 2019. And so had the trip planned, had all the tickets bought, had everything ready to go in spring of 2019. And lo and behold, about 2 months before my trip, my mother had tumors in her neck. We found out that she had tumors in her neck, and we didn't know how serious it was at the time. And of course, we found out that she was going to have surgery, and they were going to have to do the biopsies and all that. So what I decided to do is I decided to reschedule that trip for this year. Now, good news is, thank God, they were not cancerous. The surgeries went well, and I was there to be with her through all that, and that's obviously more important. And so, thank God for that. But I rescheduled the trip, and was really planning and looking forward to it and getting all the logistics down and doing this hike that I've wanted to do my whole life. And so, when you're prepping and you're training for a trip of this magnitude, a lot goes into it. Not just working out, but having, like I said, the medicines, because you're going to be in extreme weather, and if you get too hot or if you get too cold, that could ruin your medicine. And when you're diabetic, you cannot, and you take insulin, you cannot go very long or survive very long without insulin. And that's just the diabetes part. That's not including all of my medicine that I have to take for my lungs. So anyways, really kind of had to have everything down and ready to go. And I had everything from my MREs to my protein bars to my glucose tablets if my sugar was to drop low. Had all of my survival kit ready for climbing. And here's the interesting thing. So we're leading up to this, and everyone's like, man, Brian's really doing this. He's going to go to the Himalayas. He's going to climb. He's going to hike, and this is what he's wanted to do for so long. And I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to it. I don't think I look forward to this trip more than any other trip. You know, I had done South America with Machu Picchu, and that was phenomenal. I hiked around, or I should say trekked around the Amazon rainforest, and that was incredible. I spent time in Europe, and that was awesome, but I don't think I was ever as excited for a trip as this. This was going to be a really big trip. It was going to be about 24 days, and I was going to get to see some amazing sights, and not just, you know, climbing, but I was also going to get to trek around India, see the Taj Mahal, see New Delhi, see some of these amazing cities, and get to really experience this phenomenal culture. And, you know, I'd gotten all my vaccines, you know, gotten all my visas, everything was ready to go. And so, getting ready to go, I'm leading up to this, about 3 weeks out, here in 2020. I'm excited as ever, and I tell you what, you're going to have to stay in tune for the next episode, because I'm going to tell you how all of this changed in 2020, and how it was really God that was leading and directing my path. And little did I know that He had much bigger plans for me. And if you think just for a second that this might be the story for you, and because maybe you have your own plans and you're not sure where God's leading you, but if you think that this could somehow benefit you with your faith, I want you to tune into our next chapter, chapter 2, because I'm going to talk about how I had all these plans for my life, and I had all these huge plans for this trip, and of course we know what happened in 2020. We're all living through it right now. But I want to tell you how God really was trying to help me see the whole picture, the big picture. I was just focused on this one trip, but God had something else in mind.